found out something very unsettling about Harry. He gambles.
What do you mean he gambles?
He plays craps in the back room of a private club. I mean, you know, yo 11, come on, little Joe. Snake eyes, hard way 8s. That's how it goes. He loses a lot of money.
You had no idea?
No, I didn't.
Welcome to the CrapVegas podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the CrapVegas podcast. It is Thursday, June 16th, and we're a little bit later than usual, but it's for good reason. It's because we were stuck in Vegas for 5 days and just couldn't get away. I'm Chris, he's Josh, and Josh, how are you doing this lovely Thursday?
I'm doing well. Part of the reason that we couldn't record when we thought we were going to record was we both got a little, our throats got a little scratchy, and we used that as an excuse not to record on from our trip. And really, we were probably just wanting to be at the dice tables. But we also wanted to give a little. Probably true. Yeah, we also wanted to give a little respect to You Can Bet on That, and they were releasing a little late, so we wanted to give them a little space. Of course, Tim from The Better Life said that's silly with podcasts, and you can just all release them the same time, and people will listen when they want to. But we were honoring You Can Bet on That. We'll go with that.
Yeah, that's who we are. We're just honorable people. And I think we honestly could have recorded it. It wouldn't have been a big deal. But at the same time, at that point, things were actually going pretty well in our trip. So we really didn't want to break up a good thing.
Was Sunday night a good night? It all runs together in my head. We'll work our way through it, but it all runs together.
Yeah, I think that the easiest way for us to tackle this and talk about our trip is just to go day by day. But Josh, I know you have something really exciting that you wanted to share before we got going.
Well, I do. At the end of our podcast today, I'm going to announce a little contest. So this is just a tease to hopefully get you to listen to the whole thing and not just fast forward on through. And Chris, I know you're going to give our contact information, but just for folks out there, just realized to me, I texted Chris earlier and I said, do we have an email address? And Chris said, you idiot, I've been telling this email address at the beginning of every podcast for our last 2.
All 2 of them, yeah.
All 2, right. Anyway, so I'll let you get back to the contact details to reach us. But I thought that was pretty funny.
Okay, yeah, right at the top of that spreadsheet. You can always reach us via email at podcast@crapvegas.com. We also have a text/voicemail line that is 702-978-7775, or by far the easiest way is always going to be on Twitter. He's at Vegas Duffy, and I'm at Small Whale 13. So Josh, let's talk about our trip to Las Vegas, staying at the Wynn. I was there for 5 days, kind of leaving early on the 5th day, and you actually stuck around an extra day, which I'm still jealous about. But let's start off with our arrival on Friday. So did you have a good trip getting in? Anything special in the arrival that made it better?
Well, it was, I always love coming in and coming from where I do. It's just a 2-hour flight. So that's super nice. Unlike you. And I know you had a little bit of an adventure, right? So, I'm part of being black status at Wynn. I get picked up transportation to and from the airport. So my ride was there waiting for me. I did not have as nice a car as you might have had at pickup, but I was pleasantly surprised when I got to the hotel. For the first time ever, my host was waiting at the door when I got out of the car and they escorted me into the desk to check in and just saying hello and nothing really special. Didn't come with bearing gifts or anything like that. But it was really neat. I wasn't expecting. I was caught off guard and a little bit nervous even. Wow.
Wait, hold on. What do you want? Yeah,
right. It's just one of those things. Going back to to your article that you wrote on hosts, and we're going to talk about hosts, I think, a little more on an upcoming episode. But it was just one of those unexpected, little pleasant surprises that you get from a really good host. Maybe at any property, but particularly I think at Wynn. But just a good host anywhere around will do things like that surprise you. And this was just a nice, feel good thing. Nothing special about it. Just made me feel good.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And, honestly, we had a group chat that not everybody has privy to, but all of us that were going on the dice crawl were in a group chat together on Twitter. And building up during the day, a lot of people were arriving, and you kept hearing, this person got this car to pick them up for their hotel. This person got this car. And somebody threw out, it's like, Chris is going to get the Rolls Royce. That's what's going to happen. And sure enough, even after my 3-hour flight delay that I had and felt like I was never going to get it to Vegas, I got picked up in the Phantom, which was really exciting for the time, and I beat everybody. So I guess that means I'm a more important gambler, and you can shut up about your black card.
And this was your first time in the Phantom, right?
It was, yeah. I'd never been in it before, and fast forward to the very end, I got to take it back to the airport too. So I got 2 trips and 1, and now my head is growing way too big.
They are beautiful cars, and they smell really good too.
Oh, they do, and they have those plush carpets. I mean, it's super nice.
Starlight ceiling.
Oh yeah, it's so romantic for just me in there. I mean, it was me and the driver. We had a terrific time.
I got in one time, and I think it was a family that the driver said had been in it before. Everything was pulled out. The tabletops were down or whatever. All the little bells and whistles the family had been playing with, in the Rolls Royce. So
yeah, I don't touch it. I just leave it alone.
No, me either. I just sit back there prim and proper and hope I don't break anything in the Rolls.
Yeah, but, for sure.
They're nice to have.
They are. And this was your first time staying in one of the Wynn remodeled rooms, wasn't it?
It was. I know you had stayed in one last trip. This is my first time seeing it. I think most people that are interested in Wynn or room design and all that kind of thing have seen pictures of the redesigned rooms. I just had a basic room in Tower Suites, but not a suite in Tower Suites. If you know Wynn, all of their suites are in the Tower Suites, tower or wing, whatever you call it, but not all of the rooms in Tower Suites are suites.
Yes.
If that was clear enough, clear as mud. So I had just a regular room on the Tower Suite side, but it was one of the redesigned rooms, and I thought the main bedroom sitting room area was lovely. I really thought the design is fantastic.
Yeah, I think they did a great job.
And just really, really thought it was beautifully done. Some of the pictures, and Chris, you might be able to tell me. I thought that all of the redesigned rooms had the 4-poster bed, but someone said that maybe the rooms in the non-Tower Suite side don't.
They do. They do not. Yeah, you won't have a 4-post bed in the traditional rooms. I guess that's a perk that you guys get.
It's a little perk
that I don't have access to yet.
And it was nice. It was, I didn't find it to be. I was worried that you might be too obtrusive, or anyway, I didn't find that to be the case. No. The one comment I had is kind of the same thing that really most people have had, which is I wasn't crazy about the bathroom redesign.
Yeah, I wasn't
particularly the shelf unit that sits between the 2 sinks. It just. I didn't care for it. I thought, the shelf that I wanted to put my things on, then I couldn't see through the shelf above it to get to the things that I put on. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but.
No, I mean, that's the same comments I had when I saw it for the first time. It just kind of seemed out of place. There wasn't a great place to put your things. I'm a relatively short person. So like the top shelf is completely useless because I can't even get to it. I'd have to stand on a stool or something to get to the damn thing. But no, I had the same feedback. I think that you did. It does look beautiful. They did a great job with it. There's some touches that they added that I thought were really fantastic. Before they didn't even have chargers next to the bed. Now they do.
That's what I was going to say too.
They have 2 good outlets and USB plugs and stuff. So it's a much more modern feel to it.
Yeah. They improved the tech on the rooms for sure. And overall, I mean, the bathroom is a minor, it's still a beautiful bathroom, and it's,
yeah, it doesn't change my overall experience there. I think it's still enjoyable.
The other thing, sorry, Chris, I was going to say the other thing, you beat me on room floor this time as well.
I did. What floor were you on, Josh?
I was on the 9th floor, which gave me quick access to the gambling.
That's what's most important. Right. So my 58th view, 58th floor view. I mean, it was just a hair better, but you know what? I still couldn't go through that door that you get to go through and take those special elevators. So.
I was on the 9th floor of Tower Suites, and it truthfully, it doesn't. I mean, I when I get to a room, I open up the drapes to see what my view is, the golf course or the swimming pools or whatever it is out off of Wynn, but then I close them and pretty much never open again for the rest of the trip. So floor doesn't bother me much.
I do the same exact thing, but I would have nothing to hold over you if I didn't at least comment on it.
That's right, exactly.
So Friday night, once everybody finally arrived, we only had about 45 minutes before a dinner reservation. So we did play a short crap session. I remember absolutely nothing from it. Josh, do you?
Unfortunately, this makes for great podcasting. I don't think I remember anything of it either.
No, I think it was very uneventful. But it led up. We had to rush out pretty quickly because we had a dinner reservation. Yeah, we obviously did. I think 90% of the time we do. So that would make sense. But we had a dinner reservation at Delilah, which I had never experienced before, and I don't believe you'd been there either.
No, I hadn't either. And this is my first time. I have not been to, just slipped my mind. What's the Mayfair Supper Club at Bellagio either. And I've heard great things about Mayfair at Bellagio. And so this is my first time to a supper club like this. And I was excited to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to dinner. Usually when we go on these trips, we rarely go to an actual restaurant. It's usually mostly room service and back to the tables. So this was going to be a pleasant treat for us. So without any, prejudice in this, Josh, what was your overall opinion of Delilah?
Well, before I go into that, I wanted to say I told the story when I was a guest on Tim's The Better Life podcast, Tim Lawson's The Better Life, and I said that prior to this trip, you and we've been to Vegas five-ish times together at the same time, and never once had we eaten a meal together.
No, we had not. We did it multiple times this weekend, though, so we caught up.
Anyway, so this was, it was nice to get a chance to see you just, outside the craps table. And
yeah, of course.
But the ones at Delilah, we were seated in the patio area, which is kind of a courtyard. I would describe it, I guess, in the middle maybe of the restaurant. I hadn't been to that space before. I understand it was a different restaurant before Delilah, and I don't have a frame of reference for it. But there's an open air area within the restaurant itself. And first thing, it was 116 degrees in Vegas when we were there, 115, whatever it was, 111. And everything is just 115 at that time, at that temperature to me.
Pretty much.
And I was pleasantly surprised, Chris. I think you were too. It was not hot out there. They had the space design that the airflow was just great.
Yeah, I mean,
we went
through these doors out into this little area that he described. So we're off of the main dining floor. We don't have view of the entertainers other than through a glass door. The doors were open, which turned out to provide a lot of cool air and actually made the patio very tolerable. You wouldn't know that it was 115 degrees out.
Right.
And I think at one point I even said to Josh, I almost thought it was a fake sky. I thought it was like you were walking, like through Caesar's Palace or like the Planet Hollywood Shops, and they have that fake sky up there. That's kind of what it looked like because it was too beautiful and it wasn't hot enough to be outside. But
right.
They did a great job setting that up. Yeah, it looks terrific.
And I think, and we'll talk about it more, but I think that you touched on it. We could only see the entertainment just, depending on where you were seated at our round table. There were about 6 of us, I think, and only some people could see anything through this door. I couldn't see a bit of the entertainment. So that made the whole experience different, I think, than I was hoping for in a supper club. So to me, it was really a restaurant, a fine dining experience with some background music. And it wasn't, I had the
same experience. I never would have known it was a supper club. Yeah.
Right. So that took away, honestly, I think, from our enjoyment of it. And again, it's not, it's hard for me to want to be too critical of anything Wynn just by my nature. But this wasn't, it took away from the overall experience of it for sure. I started, I think, by having a lemon drop, and you can poke fun at me if you like. And I think, Chris,
I do enough of that in person. Yeah.
which was a fine lemon drop, if I remember. I think I had a couple.
Yeah.
And you probably had some bourbon, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much every meal.
And it was a nice, we got started nicely, and it's a good menu. I kind of, I don't know where we want to talk about, I'll fast forward just a little bit. Don't want to bore everybody with all the details, but I had steak, and we shared some various appetizers. I particularly like what I have, spicy broccoli, or spicy broccolini, I guess it was, which was very spicy, but also really good. And my steak was fine. It wasn't the best steak I've ever had, but it was very, just fine. I think the biggest, and I'll let you talk about your thoughts too, Chris, but I think the biggest criticism that I had was really just the length of time that it took.
Yes. Yeah,
for every course, and then for our check at the end. And part of that maybe goes with the whole supper club experience, that you're supposed to be there and enjoying lots of time between courses and enjoying the music and the performances. But because we couldn't see that, it was just a meal drawn out over 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I think you hit a lot of my key points. I think the food, the sides were good. The main on-course was fine. It wasn't terrific. It wasn't terrible. The entertainment, it was effectively non-existent other than music playing in the background, so we didn't get to experience any of that. And the server, when he was present, was very cordial and helpful. But at the same time, I think Josh alluded to it for a second, it took 3.5 hours. There is nothing I want to do in Vegas for 3.5 hours,
except
other than standing at the craps table.
Right.
It was just too damn long. I think our reservation was 8, and we got out of there about 11:45. And one of the people that was with us at the time even said that, they try to keep the reservations to no more than 2 hours because they don't want you to be there too long. Well, we exceeded that obviously by a big chunk, but it was just fine. You couldn't tell me it was a supper club. If I wouldn't believe you because I didn't see any sort of entertainment. Food was okay. Time was way too long. It's probably not an experience I'd want to have again.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I were there with my wife and we were going to be inside and could enjoy the entertainment, that's a little bit of a different thing. But
sure,
yeah, it just wasn't. It didn't knock my socks off, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. I was a little disappointed. I guess I had too high of expectations going into it, so I was let down a little bit.
On the plus side, I didn't find, there were 6 of us and people having various cocktails and things like that, and. Mm-hmm. I think the bill for, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the bill for each of us individually was about $166.
Yeah,
something like that.
Sounds right. It's just
tip,
over $1,000 for everything.
Right. And I didn't find that to be, $166 for a nice steak dinner with 2 cocktails, and some appetizers. I didn't find that to be particularly out of line at all.
No, not for Vegas pricing.
Yeah, exactly. So I will say that it wasn't, and we didn't have, I don't think anybody had wine. We didn't have a bottle of wine or anything like that. So we didn't have anything huge that could add to the table. But
yeah, for sure.
Those are my thoughts on Delilah too.
Yeah. Josh, what would you give it out of 5 stars? Because you're a food critic. I mean, what would you give it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's right up there with the steak, nachos, and room service, which are my favorite if you didn't catch that.
Yeah, mine too.
I would probably give it, I don't know, 3.5-ish, something like that.
Okay, I'd fall in around 3. So that's fine. It's average. It's not better or worse than that. So after we wrapped up dinner, it was so late that both Josh and I said the same thing. We said, yeah, it's too late. We're going to bed. And keep in mind, I'm an East Coaster. So for me, it was after 2 a.m. I go to bed at like 10:30 usually. So yeah, that was really pushing my boundaries. But what it did allow us to do is to get up nice and early and start our Saturday with a good session of coffee dice.
Yep. And we met Michael Traeger of Travelzork, who was also staying at the Wynn for this part of his trip. He stayed at Wynn and Resorts World, I believe. But he was at Wynn for this part of the trip and met us for our coffee dice at, I think, 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. We all met at the Tower Suites coffee bar there and got loaded up on our caffeine and headed to the tables.
Yeah, no, it was a good morning. We had a lot of fun. Didn't make any money, if I remember correctly. There was nothing that's memorable about the actual craps experience itself. But we had a good time.
Was it Saturday or Sunday morning that we hit the all tall small for the first time?
Well, according to my notes, I'm going to say it's Sunday because that's the best I can come up with. And full disclosure, we were literally going back through Josh's tweets trying to figure out what happened when, because when you play this much dice, everything seems to run together. I can't remember one session from another.
But yes, what I do know is by the time we went to our dice crawl, which started about 5 in the evening on Saturday, Chris and I were both down.
Significantly.
Yeah. Yes.
It was not a small number.
That meant that, and I don't remember us having a fantastic session and then it going south from there or anything like that. I think Saturday was just overall not a winning day.
No, but enjoyable.
Pardon the pun.
It was enjoyable. But Josh hit the what we started Saturday evening that I think is probably the most fun that I had for the whole weekend, outside of just normal craft sessions going well. But we went on a dice crawl of multiple casinos, had a dinner in between. And I want to break down some of this because a lot of these are places I hadn't been before. And we also did some things that we don't usually do. So I think that's always worth talking about. So Josh, where do we even get the idea for the dice crawl? Who came up with it? Who planned it? Who did all that stuff?
Well, so this trip, in addition to kind of just being a normal trip, was also a trip to celebrate my birthday. Wynn, I think we've probably mentioned it before, but Wynn gives you some extra little perks, spa credit and free play, things like that. Or food and beverage credit, something, if you go on your birthday month. And so, I was wanted to take advantage of that. So planning a June trip, and Michael Traeger of Travelzork again also has a birthday in June. And so he and I got to talking several months ago about trying to, what weekends in June might work for us all to meet up down there, for the two of us to meet up down there. And then I talked with you and figured out a weekend of the open dates that would work for you also. And so all of a sudden, Michael, who's a big planner of fun things and activities like that, and said, why don't we do a dice crawl? I'll get a limo for us, and we can go to 3 or 4 casinos before dinner, have a nice steak dinner, and then do 3 or 4 casinos afterwards. And it'll be great because we won't need to, we'll have the limo there so we can pop in and out as much as we want to and, make it easy, and we can drink in the limousine, in the limo and all that kind of stuff. So I was pretty sure it was Michael's idea, and he had me give input on where we would go for our dice crawl. And we wanted something, they were going to be, by the time this all got together, how many of us were there, Chris? Were there 7-ish?
7. I think
there were 7. We wanted to make it this, low rolling enough that everybody could be comfortable, and also that it wouldn't take a big chunk out of our gambling budget. It was really just to have fun, to go places that we hadn't been before. So I was trying to think about where we want to start. So we were eating dinner at Circus. And so I planned out that we would go to the Palms, which I have never been to. It was my first time, and the Orleans, which also I'd never been to, and Gold Coast. We thought about going to Rio, but A, nobody really wanted to go to Rio, and then B, some of us have been there before, and
sure,
no real reason to go there now, especially with the transition that the property is going through. So off we went to Palms. Chris, you want to take it from here? Well, I guess hold on. One more thing I wanted to throw in. So Vegas Introvert, who's also a friend of ours, and I co-hosted his vlog when he was interviewing Mark and Dr. Mike, made T-shirts for our whole group.
He did,
so
it was really cool,
which was really fun. Yeah, so we put on Vegas Introverts T-shirts in the limo, and off we went, all in matching shirts to
you couldn't miss
the Palms. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
No, sure. I was going to say that I think that I had never actually traveled around Vegas to multiple properties and had that immediate transportation, having a limo available. And it made it so much more enjoyable because you could just get in, talk for a little bit, have some fun, show up. They drop you at the front door. When you're ready to go, there's a limo waiting right outside the door to get you to property number 2. That whole experience was absolutely terrific. I'm really glad that got set up by Michael, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well, since it was your birthday event. But that was terrific.
It was amazing. Not only could we drink in the car and not have to worry about that. We didn't have to worry about waiting in lines for taxis or Ubers or whatever, or trying to pile in somebody's rental car
or anything like
right.
That.
Exactly. It was just that allowed us to play as long as we wanted to in each property, and then say, we're out of here, let's move on to the next. And it was just that simple. So if and I have no idea how much Michael, how much the limo cost Michael. We all chipped in,
it, but I didn't ask.
Yeah,
so
right. We chipped in a little bit, but we don't know what that cost. But it was really nice to have it.
It was.
So off we went into the Palms. I'd never been in the Palms before. Had you?
Yeah, I had stayed there a couple times as a hosted player back before they closed the first time. So I'd seen kind of everything and eaten there and done that whole experience. I think they moved some things around, at least from what I saw. So it was a little different, but it felt like the same old Palms that I'd gone to a couple years ago. But upon walking in the front door, literally 25 steps we maybe took, and we were at an empty craps table, which worked out great. So we could all
on a Saturday night.
Around. Yeah, Saturday night is what, $15? Is that right?
Yep, I think it was.
Yeah,
and it was I was first time in the Palms. I was impressed with kind of the openness of it. I mean, we were only there for 25 minutes or so, so I didn't get a good feel for the property or anything like that. I don't want to pretend I got a good feel for the property, but I liked it seemed very open and light when we were there. So I like that. And we walked up, as Chris said, to an empty craps table. And the first thing that caught my eye was the all tall small with the original better odds, which of course, that was, we didn't hit it, but it was nice. It was nice to see it.
It didn't come anywhere near. I don't think we ever did anything at that table, to be exact.
So if you're a dice player and you're looking for a place in Vegas with the good odds on the all tall small, which is, I think it's 176 to 1 on the all, if I'm correct, and maybe is it 50 to 1 on the? They don't have it enough. 35. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 35. No, 35 is is it 35? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's 35 instead of 30, and 175 instead of 150.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we have that at a couple local casinos still, thankfully.
I don't see it anymore, so I've forgotten what it is, but
it is out there in the wild.
Right. And whoop, Chris, you're frozen. don't know if we're still recording.
We're back. I guess I'll have to do some editing this week.
Chris is going to have to learn how to edit.
Oh, shit. So yeah, anyway, so it had the all tall small. I think the hardest part for me is I didn't have a good game plan going into these places of what my bankroll should be and how I should play. Because I guess you get so focused on playing a certain way in craps, it's really hard to adjust back down.
That was the same with me too. I hadn't given, probably should have given a little more thought to how I wanted to play. We all went into this with, the idea of maybe only having, $400 or $500 per property at most at a bank, in our bankroll. So it was how do we want to play, and it got, as the night went on, I'll kind of give it away. I didn't want to, I became even more, what's the word? I didn't want to lose any more money. So yes. I was not even willing to go, to go that far. I didn't want to lose more than a couple $100 kind of thing. So it was a challenge. You're right, to think about how do I want to play that I can have fun with this and, and still, not go at the same level as we usually do.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this, or at least I know I have before, where I guess at certain levels of play, no matter what game it is, craps, blackjack, whatever it is, if it gets too low, I lose interest. But at the same time, it was a good group of friends together, having a good time. That's what was enjoyable, not playing at that level. I mean, I don't think anybody hit a point while we were sitting there or anything. And I don't think anybody got more than 3 numbers.
No, we got at Palms, we got wiped out in like 20 minutes. All 7 of us, shot the dice and all 7 of us lost and out we went.
Yes, it was not a great winning experience, but I was glad everybody, if they hadn't seen it, they got to see it. And I was glad to get back in there.
Right. No, it was fun. So off we went to the Orleans next. And if I had it to do over again, I think I realized when we were driving around, locals would know this or people more familiar with the area, but I think actually Gold Coast is like right across the street. That probably would have been the best second stop. Not that it mattered much, but off we went to the Orleans.
Yeah, and I think that this was probably the hottest topic of the weekend because thanks to Tim at the Better Life, everybody messaged Tim. We played the Don't for the first time. For the first time in my life, I played the Don't. Josh, I don't know if you're playing the Don't every time I'm not there. But
No, this was this, and the reason we did it for people that are gonna hate us for it. Well,
yes, absolutely.
First, we know there are people that love the Don't and people that hate Don't players, and we did it because we were just getting killed, and so it was me, Chris, and Tim from the Better Life on one end of the table, and the rest of our group on the other end of the table. So they ended up playing the regular pass line and we switched to the Don't.
We played to the Don't, yeah.
So we were essentially competing against our compatriots. And
yeah,
and we got the better of them, I think.
I think we did too, but to be perfectly clear, there were not other people at this table. It was just us.
Yeah, and we were having a good time. And
yes, people get so upset about how can you do this? How can you do that? Look, we were having fun as a group. It's not the way that we would typically ever play at a real table with other people or even with significant amounts of money, even though it probably financially would be a smarter move to do so. But it was just something we wanted to try. Tim taught us, here's how you lay your bets down on the felt and here's where you put your money for this because we look like idiots trying to do it, honestly. But it was definitely fun. It was different. But I did want to branch that, Josh, into at least a quick discussion of Don't betting at the table. Because it seemed as soon as we put that on Twitter, it brought out this strong, visceral reaction from people of how much they hate us now because we did so. We're the worst human beings ever. We should be banned from all casinos.
How dare you play the Don't?
Yeah, I mean, so what are your thoughts overall, Josh, about Don't bettors?
Well, I don't like to see Don't players at a table that I'm playing at. And it's nothing to do with the person. Even though they all seem to be grumpy people. No, I'm just kidding. It's that, I part of the joy that I get out of craps, and I'm sure you're the same way, is, yes, I like to play at a table by myself or just with one other person, that kind of thing. But when the table fills up, you all know this if you like craps, the energy is just amazing and people are going bananas and, all that kind of stuff. And that's the fun part. I mean, that's part of the reason we play it is to get those moments. And again, I'm not meaning to offend anybody that likes to play from the Don't. I understand from an odds perspective why you would do it. But it just takes away a little bit of knowing there's somebody that's not on the same side, if you will. And again, I know that's not entirely true. You can play the Don't and still, people on the pass line can still win and so on with place bets and whatnot, or come bets. And, they're not necessarily mutually exclusive, opposing adversarial parties.
Mm-hmm.
But it oftentimes it seems that way. And so this was the nice thing about this experience at the Orleans, as Chris said, we were, it was just us, and the crew knew it, and the crew was fun,
mm-hmm.
but and having fun with it. But overall, yeah, I don't like to see don't players at my table. I just think it takes away a little bit of the joy. And when they win, it means I'm losing, and I'm grumpy about that. And,
sure.
You look for anything you can to blame it on, and it's the don't player. And go away, get off my table, kind of thing. And we had that experience at one of the days at Wynn where there was a woman playing from the don't, and she was
mm-hmm.
perfectly fine as far as, she wasn't celebrating when she won or anything, and she wasn't. But, we weren't doing well, and she was winning. And so we went, we'll tell the story later, but we went to a crapless table where there's no don't.
Yes.
But anyway, my thinking of don't players is, I like to have them not at the table. I know you kind of feel like you're happy when you get rid of them. You might say that.
Yes, usually I love picking their bets off one by one and watching everything drop as we're having a good roll. I find that very enjoyable. But I do want to play devil's advocate on this because somebody brought up a point on Twitter that I had never really thought about since I'm not, a long-time craps player.
Right.
And I don't remember who it is, so I apologize for that. But somebody had said something along the lines of, at a roulette table, people are betting on red and black separately from one another. And for red to win, that obviously means that the black bettors are losing and back and forth. So they're adversaries to each other. But nobody would ever say a word about somebody picking a color on a roulette table. Is it because there's a right way technically to play in craps and a wrong way, or is that just a made-up term to make don't bettors feel bad? What do you think draws that ire of people?
So I think what the difference is, as you're saying it, and you mentioned that, I think as we were playing that night or somewhere along the trip, that same, that analogy that somebody had made. I think the difference is in roulette, that's not just red and black, that's every number.
Mm-hmm.
If I choose 27 and you choose 13,
sure.
So you're not, the thing that I think sets craps apart, and I think it sets it apart from at least every other game that I know about, is you are all, assuming you're on the pass line and, that kind of thing, you're all winning or losing together. Mm-hmm. Roulette's different in my eyes because I can win on 27 and you can lose on 13. There isn't a magic thing that happens that everybody wins. And I think that's the difference for me. That's the thing in craps that, if we're all playing the right way, if you will, we're all on the pass line, we all have odds, and we all win when our point comes. Or vice versa, if you're all on the don't and that kind of thing. I think that's the difference when, in thinking about the roulette analogy. Yes, you're opposing parties if you're, I'm on red and you're on black, but that's kind of everything in roulette. There isn't a one thing, that would let everybody win unless everybody bet on red, that kind of thing.
So if tomorrow they came out and said red is the correct way to bet and black is the wrong way to bet, would that change something in your eyes? If everybody played red together and then all of a sudden a guy came over and was like, I'm playing black. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. I'm just curious where
it's a good
where your line is drawn here.
I'm curious to hear what people think. But no, I think that's, there isn't anything, as anybody that knows about craps, and we'll talk more about kind of strategies and more about what the don't is for people that are more beginners on craps. But basically, you're betting, you're hoping for a 7 instead of betting against a 7, making your point before a 7 comes and vice versa. But I think it's really just that, if I'm losing at a craps table, the don't player is probably winning, and it's a
okay.
place to blame that person, and the superstition and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I won't push you any farther.
That's okay. No, I'm glad you are.
Okay.
And then there's also the. I don't know if this goes through your head. Probably not. You're more practical in that sense. But also that person doesn't believe in me. They don't believe that I can shoot well and make my number. They're betting against me. That kind of thing.
Well, sometimes that's for good reason, Josh.
Right, absolutely.
We had some absolutely horrible roll patterns there for a while where it was just getting abysmal. And I can understand why every don't player in the casino was running to the table to play with us.
Well, that lady on the don't made a killing.
And she followed us around multiple casinos. We were playing at Encore when the bad luck started.
Oh, I forgot she was there too.
Because the tables were such a mess. And we'll get to this in a minute when we get to Sunday or whatever the next day is in this trip. But yeah, she followed us from Encore to Wynn. and played with us at the win table just because she knew we were having such bad luck. And that's why we switched to crapless that day, was to get away from her and try to change our luck up.
Right.
So the only thing else I wanted to mention about the Orleans was the feature bet that they had there. Josh, I had never heard of it before. Maybe you had, but it was called the replay side bet. Was that something you were familiar with?
No, never seen it. Didn't know what it was. And I think you've looked it up, but I had no idea what it was. I still don't have any idea.
Yeah, no, so I did look it up because I was curious what the heck it was. I assumed it was something like a repeater bet, but they didn't want to pay the licensing fee. And all it was that I could tell is that it's betting on how many times you're going to make a specific point before you 7 out. So it was, can you make a 6 or 8 3 times at a minimum? And if you could make a 6 or an 8 3 times, then it paid like 70 to 1. Or if you could make a 4 times, then it would pay 1,000 to 1 or something crazy like that. Does that interest you at all?
Well, maybe it probably would if I played there regularly. I'm sure I would do it just for the, for the side bet fun of it. But because we were there for such a short time and had never heard of it before, I don't think anybody played it.
No, I don't think we even knew how to play it because there was bunch of circles on the felt. I didn't know if you were supposed to throw like 40 chips out there or just one. I didn't know what was going
on. Back to the Palms. We did start playing the all tall small at Palms, but because we got wiped out so fast,
it didn't last very long.
We quickly quit that. Yeah. But no, so, I don't think any of us played the replay side bet, but it was interesting. Yeah. We'd never seen that before.
No. Yeah. That was something new for me. So moving on, we're over to the Gold Coast. Josh, what do you remember about the Gold Coast?
Well, the big thing I remember is, I think, Chris, that this is where the $100 black chips were locked up.
It was actually worse than that, Josh. It was the green chips were locked up.
Oh, it was the green chips that were locked up.
Yes, 25 and higher were in plastic in a case that you would have to open to get to. So I don't think our normal play would probably be welcome there.
So I don't have, honestly, let's see. I think that Gold Coast had the repeater as far as the side bet. Yeah. Which I have played before, and I haven't seen as much on the strip lately, but it was on the strip, and I think maybe the fire bet came back and took away some repeaters. Or anyway, the repeater was the side bet. None of us played it again because by this point we had lost so much that we were just trying to conserve our little bankroll for our dice crawl and just enjoying each other's company. I don't have many memories, either good or bad. The Gold Coast didn't really stick out to me. As it was fine. I thought the dealers that we had were fine. But of those three, I really liked the Orleans as far as just the feel of it. And I could see myself, in certain situations going back there, maybe if I was going to, if I was looking to stay somewhere a little on the lower side or maybe off strip or, anyway, I like the feel of the Orleans the best out of, between that and Gold Coast. Palms is kind of a different animal, but.
It is. It's significantly larger, obviously, and catering to a different clientele. But no, I was the same way. I preferred the Orleans over the Gold Coast. There was nothing wrong with the Gold Coast. It just it wasn't my sort of feel for a place I'd want to play. Was that the one that had a TGI Fridays inside of it?
I think so. Yes.
We walked past like a Subway, and there's a TGI Fridays there. Yeah, it's kind of like walking through a shopping mall on a Friday night that they threw some tables into. First
time we'd ever seen a TGI Fridays in a casino.
And if I'm wrong about which one it was, then I apologize. But yeah, there was a very common fast chain restaurant sitting there right in the middle.
But by this point, we were. Oh, sorry, Chris. I was going to say we were getting short on time, and so we weren't at Gold Coast for more than
10, 15 minutes at most.
Yeah.
No, it was not. It was not long. It was not successful. So
and then we went to dinner at the Circus Steakhouse.
Now, had you been there before?
No, I had not been there before.
Okay, I'd been there multiple times.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew what I was getting into, and I kind of know that you have to walk through the Circus to even get to it, which is an adventure all in itself.
Yes. And the first thing I thought when we went into the restaurant was, this place really smells like a steakhouse.
It does. Yeah. It's like they're pumping in wood chips or something. Yeah.
Right. And, we won't go into too much detail on the meal, I think, and just for time, it was a fine steak dinner. I think both Chris, you and I didn't finish our steak.
It was a large cut of meat.
Yeah.
And I think something that Michael Traeger was really excited about, if you haven't been there before, is that all their steaks come with a potato, either a baked potato or a mashed, and a vegetable. And then they also, of course, like every other steakhouse, give you plenty of bread to keep you busy. So you get your full entree with, sides and everything at one reasonable price. It is significantly cheaper than most places on the Strip for a steakhouse. And I think that they're a good place and a good option for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't, if you've got nothing against wandering through Circus at the same time.
That's the downside to it. Yes.
So by the time, of course, this is a steak dinner with however many people we had, 7 people or 8 people. Yeah. By the time we finished dinner, we had planned to go to Virgin, the Strat, and Golden Gate, but we short circuited and we just went straight to Golden Gate. I didn't even gamble at Golden Gate because I was tired and punchy at this point. And as we said, we'd already lost going into the dice crawl. I lost a little bit on the dice crawl, not much, but I was ready. I was just enjoying the company, but I didn't gamble at Golden Gate at all. I think you, Chris, played a little high limit blackjack, right?
Well, I played more than I probably told you at the time, probably because I was drinking more than I should have. But when we got there, we walked back to their 2 craps tables. They were both pretty packed. I think they had room for like 2 or 3 people. So I can't remember who walked up to the table. I think
Michael Traeger and our
Michael
friend
and Marshall
played. Yeah.
And I think that's all they really had room for. So I didn't want to just sit there and do nothing. So I walked over to the high limit blackjack pit, which was interesting in and of itself because they got really upset that I wouldn't give them a player's card or my ID. And then they tried the whole, let's send a host over and have him introduce himself and see if that will trigger the information. I think for the session, Josh, I probably lost about $2,000. It did not go very well.
It's a lot more there. I didn't know that. I'm learning.
I didn't factor that into my net losses for the trip when I'm thinking about it either. So it's actually worse than I really thought. But again, I'd been drinking too much, I think, at the time. Yeah, it's like my ex-wife. I didn't want to tell her. I didn't want to tell you because I was embarrassed.
I understand those. I know that I have kept those kind of gambling losses secret too. When those.
No, so next time you got to pull me aside, and we just got to go sit down at a Heidi slot again, and that would control the losses a little bit better.
So, what were the table limits at high limit in where we were?
I think it was 50. Yeah, I think it was 50. If you're a blackjack player, it's not a good place to play. It never has been, never will be downtown. They don't stand on 17, even high limit. Even if it was $200 downtown, they still don't, most of those games. The dealer was perfectly fine. She spoke very little English, so it made for kind of a trying conversation at times when we tried to get through it. But the Golden Gate is what it is. I think if you've been there, you know exactly what you're getting. You're going there for a specific reason. It's probably not the direct gambling. But it was enjoyable. I got to, play a couple hands. Did you have a good time in the back?
Well, yeah, I was tired. So I was ready to go. As soon as we were ready to get in the limo and go back, I was ready to head home. I will say the Golden Gate, I think people always rave about their craps dealers at Golden Gate. And like I say, I didn't play any this time. I've had, nothing but good things to say about, the craps dealers at Golden Gate. As we've said before, I'm old and that place is loud and,
it is. Yeah. It's a party scene.
But the dancing dealers are fun to watch. And I've had great times there, with other buddies and things, just drinking and playing low level blackjack and, not caring about the odds and that kind of thing. And I think it, as you said, it kind of is what it is. And I think it does that well.
Yeah, and I think you hit the key thing. I think at low levels, that place is great. I know that we had gone there before together and played not on this trip, but a previous trip. And we started trickling up towards our more normal betting patterns, I'll call it, getting away from the lower limits that we're used to. And that seemed to cause some struggle for them there.
That's true. You're right.
I think it slowed down a lot. They got a little confused. Payouts weren't coming as easy as they probably should. Things got missed here or there. I don't think they get a lot of across bettors. So, they were missing payouts on certain things. We'd have to remind them. But if you're playing at low levels, I think it's a great place. It's enjoyable. Get the guys together, go down there, have a good time, blow $500, $1,000 on big night and, enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So back we went to the Wynn, and I think again I headed up to my room to go to sleep. I think you probably did too, unless you snuck out and played some blackjack somewhere.
Well, I mean, I don't remember that I did, but I wouldn't rule it out completely. But no, I think I just went to bed that night, if I remember correctly.
And up we went, and I woke up on Chris again is an East Coaster and gets up, super early. And
yeah.
So he was up first, I know. And I woke up somewhere between 6 and 7, I think, and sent him a text and was checking, social media and saw that our friend Michael Traeger had been up at the nightclub, gone into the nightclub at Wynn
yes.
at, XS at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I'm like, there's no way Michael's going to be up. But I sent him a text, and we'd all said we'd text. And so I sent him a text and said, "Are you up for coffee dice?" And lo and behold, he was awake. So we all met, and Michael oftentimes wears really brightly colored shirts. And so here's Michael with hair disheveled and probably working on 2 hours sleep and really bright
rough,
shirt.
Man.
And joined us for coffee
in the morning. But
wouldn't you know it though, Michael started us off by hitting the all tall small on Sunday morning.
Did. And then I think I even followed up in that same session. No. Actually, I hit the all tall small.
You're
first,
right,
Josh.
Yeah,
Michael hit it as he was walking up, and he got all upset. He's like, "Oh, you guys started without me, and I missed it." And I was like, "Don't worry, Michael. You're going to hit it too, and all's going to be fine." And sure enough, like a half an hour later, he rolled it all as well. So we had 2 in the same session.
And people ask us why we play that bet. And I think we talked about it before, but, we know it's not like any of those side bets, they're not good odds bets. And I don't know, you can check Wizard of Odds for what the percentage is. I used to know, but the house edges, but they're fun to play. And, if you had hit them, they can make a bad session much better, and they can make a good session extremely better. And I rationalize it by, I don't know about you, Chris, but I rationalize it by saying, of the total amount that I'm wagering on each roll, it's a very low percentage of that. So the house edge on the $20 that I'm putting out for the all tall small, or 23, is not a great, again, this is how I'm rationalizing, but it's not a great portion of the total that I'm, putting out there on each roll. I don't know if you think of it that way, but that's how I rationalize it.
I've never thought of it that way, but I guess that's good. Then I'll say, okay, well, I take full odds, and that's at 0. So, it pretty much balances out to a good bet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. I didn't know it worked that way, but that's awesome. That makes me feel a lot better about my gambling
there you
now.
Go. Of course, that's how I do that about hard ways, and that's how, all these things. But
yeah, it all balances out together. So after that session, after hitting 2 all tall smalls, we didn't actually walk away with that much money comparatively. We made money on the session, but it wasn't as much as I wanted to, because it kind of bled back after those. We had a really bad run of like 6 or 7 shooters with immediate 7 outs. So I think we colored up when we realized, hey, this is taking a turn. We don't want to go any farther.
And so Michael Traeger and our friend Marshall and I all had spa appointments at Wynn on Sunday afternoon. So it made a nice time. Chris and I were down. We had that decent morning session, but we were still down again after that. And and it made for a nice, let's take a break, and Chris go up to his room and have room service, and I'll go do the massage. And funny story, when I was booking the massage, I called Wynn ahead of time, and I got the spa, and I said, I wanted to book, 100-minute massage, and can I get the good luck ritual massage? And the woman that was booking the massage laughed like crazy at that Freudian slip. But I got the, what's it called again? Good luck ritual massage at Wynn, which I won't go into details on the exactly what it is. But anyway, it was a neat their signature massage, and it was, again, I got some massage credit or spa credit for my birthday, so it was fun to treat myself to that. And the Wynn Spa, if you've never been there, is amazing. First of all, they treat you very well. They get you anything you want in the while you're waiting for your massage. I had pineapple juice, and it was just they treat you really well. The locker rooms are nice, and all the amenities, and it's just a beautiful facility. And then the massage was terrific, and then met up again with Michael and Marshall in the spa afterwards and chatted for a little bit. And it was nice to get away and do that. So of course I had the good luck ritual massage. And so Chris and I met up after the massage. And what do you think happened?
We had the best session effectively of the whole trip.
Right.
It went about as well as it could. It was a session where we never hit the all tall small, but we absolutely killed it. And I think a good portion, if I remember correctly, I was rolling I remember correctly.
I think, and see if I'm blending sessions together, but I think this is a session that, first of all, we walked up and it was $100 table.
It was, yes.
One of the nice things, and I suggest that anybody do this, but particularly if you know the dealers or are known at a property. But we knew the dealers, and we wanted to play with this crew if we could. So we saw the table was 100, which is not something we would want to play at ideally. And we asked them if they would lower the table limit, and they said, "For you guys, sure." And so and I recommend that for anybody that goes up to a table that's higher level than you're comfortable playing at, especially if the table is not full. If there's nobody at the table, just they might lower the table limit, or they might say, "For you, sure." But so they lowered it so we could play at the table. And we just had, so Chris, I think this is where I was going. I think it was just the two of us for a fair bit of time.
It was.
And I think you had the
really
better role. Right. And then it started to fill up, of course, because, the table is looked like we were doing well, and people want to join into that. And so it got to be 2 or 3 times that the whole full table would pass the dice to us. We would go, Chris would shoot and he'd have a good roll, and I would shoot and I had a decent roll, but good enough that between the two of us, it was a really nice couple rolls, and the whole rest of the table just passed the dice right back to us.
I think they were all together, if I remember correctly. It was like 5 guys and maybe one female with them that jumped in and out.
Were singles too, yeah.
Yeah, but Josh was on my left and he would roll, and you had a really good roll, and then they'd say, "Oh, no, just pass it back to those guys." Well, they said pass it back to the brothers,
right?
Which of course we're not,
right?
But for some reason we appear to be brothers. So it would come back to me. And then, I had immediate 7 out or something after they passed it, which made me feel like shit, but it is what it is. And then it'd get back to Josh, and Josh would have a great roll, and they'd pass it again. And they're like, no, Chris, you got to throw again because you're the buffer for Josh. You take the bad luck out so that he can have all the good luck. So it was a terrific session. Josh remembers one of the best parts of it was that at some point we were winning so much money. They had cleared their bank of every black chip that they had. So they were trying to color, things down if they could and work around it. But we were literally selling back, 2 and 3 stacks of black at a time just so they could pay bets and coloring those chips up. I hadn't seen that before at a table, but that was absolutely awesome.
Yes, it was fun to color up chips so that they would have something to pay us back again. Yes. And it was, I know, Chris, you've had a session that you said it was not when I was around that was a better session. But I think that this was probably the best full session that I have ever had. Not a good 5-figure. A good 5-figure win can go a long way, and it was very memorable. It was a heck of a lot of fun being in the middle of it. We got rated significantly better than I think any time we've ever been rated. Right. We were earning a ton of points for that session. But I think at one point we finally had a couple bad rolls in a row, and we said, no, we're not draining this back down. We're going to stop. Yep. And one thing, again, we'll talk on another episode, not when we're talking about this trip about rating, but I did want to say one thing that I've started to do, again, not to always throw Michael Traeger's name out there, but he was the one. Michael is very good about asking what his table rating is when he leaves a table. And I don't like to be quite as direct, but something I've started doing that I'm comfortable with that I think is great for people if they're comfortable is asking if they have me between a certain range. So, do you have me rated between, 450 and 550 or 4 and 6 or, whatever your rating is, 100 and 200. That gives the box, the person working the box, the ability to go on the higher end or lower end of that if they're, depending on how they feel about you. If they are lower, usually they'll tell you, actually, I had you at, 350 if you asked for 4. And then, then you can ask, can you make it 4 kind of thing. But I like to give a little range so that the floor person doesn't, or the box person doesn't feel quite as pressed about trying to give me exactly, the number that I'm asking for.
That they're typing in. Yeah. And there was even a couple times, Josh, after we had good sessions, I think you always pose the question because I just don't like bothering boxes too terribly much. But I think you posed the question a couple times of one box that we particularly do like. And he even came back and said, well, I actually had you much higher than that. Higher, but if you want to go down, you can.
I said, no, we'll stay with that.
But and maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. But I pick my table sometimes based off who the box is more than who the dealers are. Because I know, and Josh knows as well, at Wynn specifically, there are some boxes that are just amazing people, but they're a little stingier on your rating at the end. It's like they just pretend that you never pressed a bet.
Right.
And there are other guys who go out of their way to rate us as fairly as they possibly can. They'll come in and override a previous box's rating that they have in the system before we leave. So it's just something to be cognizant of. If you are in the process of trying to earn tier credits, try to pay attention. Take a screenshot before of where your tier credits are at and after it's done, and see, how many points did you get playing whatever level you're at. And then the next time, if you think that guy was very fair with it, try to find a table that box is at. If it wasn't fair, try to avoid them. Or what we do is we just wait till that guy happens to go on break and the relief comes
and
in.
Then we color.
Yeah.
Now,
so we
not
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We don't want to give anybody the idea that we are, we're not out there, and I don't even mean this in a derogatory way because I think it's good, but we're not comp hustling.
No, not by any means.
Right. We're not, as I think we've said, we're kind of, we're going to get what they're going to give us. And there's not really a lot of variance in that. But what I think Chris and I both want is to be rated fairly.
And yes, that's the key word.
When we play if we're playing 270 across and 50 on the line, plus,
and feature
plus
bets,
our all smalls, right?
My CD and all that other BS. Yeah.
We want to be rated at that plus what our pressing gives us on an average. So, let's say we have 350 out to start and we're pressing periodically through a roll. I don't want to see a $350 rating because we're not always at 350. Sometimes we're at 6 or 7 or 8. So what we're hoping for is, a box person that recognizes that, our average and tries to honestly come up with whatever that average is. And I know if there's a really quick session that goes terribly, I didn't get any bets pressed up, and that lower end is probably fair, and I'm not going to fight it.
No, yeah.
But if we have a great session, right? If we have a great session and our bets get to hovering in the, if we have $210 8s and 6s for a while, then that significantly raises your, should raise your average bet up. So that's what we're trying to keep an eye on. It's just to get a good feel for, if the boxman has captured our average, what we think is accurately.
Yeah, for sure. So that kind of gets us to the end of Saturday. The only thing else I think that was
Sunday.
Sunday. The only thing, like I said, it all runs together, Josh.
Yes.
I think the only thing else that was even worth mentioning is that we always get steak nachos. That's kind of our room service go-to. And we got back to our rooms that night after having that great session. I guess we both ordered steak nachos, not talking about it in advance. We happened to order the same entree. We ordered the same dessert. And then we kept waiting and waiting and waiting for our food to come because they were slammed that night. You could tell. And they kind of warned you when you ordered. And they finally brought the food up, and I customized my nachos in a certain way. Josh didn't. And I got his nachos and he got mine. I guess because we had the exact same food, they didn't notice that there was customization on one, but they literally had swapped our meals. We are so similar. I guess we ordered even the same thing through room service.
So if you're hoping, if you want a contentious podcast, that's probably not going to be us most of the time. But yeah, that was pretty funny. Chris got his a few minutes before, and he said they forgot my, whatever it is that he ordered. And I said, I haven't got mine yet. And sure enough, mine came with, you had your stuff removed.
I had taken a lot of stuff off, and all of a sudden I got it and it had everything on it. And then
mine
came yours
plain,
and had nothing on it. Yeah. Oh, God.
But we had both taken jalapenos off, and sure enough, neither one had jalapenos. So that's why we think they just switched them.
Yeah, we're not brothers, though. I promise. If we've looked into this, we have researched where our family trees go through just to make sure there's not a bunch of overlap. We think we're good on this one. So, Josh, at that point, it was Sunday night. Everything's done. We're already at an hour. I think we're going to have to break off the rest of the trip for another episode. And we still have other things to talk about as well.
Hopefully, if you're listening, you like that. I was just going to say, hopefully, if you're listening, you like the, we don't want, we didn't want this to be just kind of a standard trip report, but we did enough, we thought, interesting things. And our goal is to try and be entertaining and also a little educational and give people some information that they might not have. So hopefully, as we go through this day by day trip, it was worth it for you. And appreciate you listening and following along. And it was fun to, it was a great, these first couple of days. The weekend was really the highlight of our kind of social activities. And then we get into Monday and Tuesday, and it's pretty much just, our standard, play craps and have room service with a few exceptions. But go ahead, Chris, what were we going to say?
Yeah, I would say exceptions like Heidi slots, where Josh gets 85 spin bonuses that get hand pays when Chris runs thousands of dollars through the machine and couldn't get a bonus if his life depended on it.
Yes, I did. Heidi, as you know, if you pay any attention to me, is my favorite slot machine. Really, kind of the only one I play most of the time. Every once in a while, I'll play the Willy Wonka machine, but and it's mainly just a time for me to kill time and earn a few tier credits between sessions of craps. If I'm getting killed or first thing in the morning, whenever it is, I'll sit and play some Heidi. But I hit a 85 spin bonus. I don't think it started as 85. I think it might start at 50, and then got a retrigger bonus during the bonus, and so I think I hit it for 1,600. I think. Yeah. It felt like it took about an hour and a half watching you waiting for spin to come. And I grew more frustrated the whole time as I'm hitting my spin button and nothing's happening. I'm winning 0, 0, 0, 0. But it tells you how infrequently I play slots. This is only my, I think, third hand pay I've ever had. So I don't play it very much. So it's fun to get. And
awesome.
It helped boost that too. You had a hand pay too, didn't you?
I did. It was a little bit smaller than that one. It was like one of those, $1,300 minimum, got to give you a W-2 sort of thing. One thing that is worth noting, they didn't do this for Josh, but if you hit a jackpot at Wynn, they offer you either cash or a slot ticket, which I think is actually really cool that they did that. And I actually took the slot ticket, because it's easier and I don't like having cash counted out on the floor and handed to you. I think that's kind of awkward. It raises some eyes from other people. But B, it also, for those that always struggle with how much should I tip here, how much should I tip there, by taking the slot ticket, I think it also makes it a lot easier on you to decide how much you think you should give as a tip. Because I know a lot of people, if they say they hit a jackpot for $1,290, some people say, well, you need to give the $90 to that person. And that, I don't believe in that. Josh and I tip better than probably any player I think I've seen. We are extremely generous. But I don't have the same feeling that slot players, that you should tip some crazy different amount based on if you want a $1,200 jackpot or a $5,000 jackpot. It's the same amount of work. So I don't understand that pressure. And I think that the slot ticket kind of takes away from that pressure.
I haven't had any ones that were big enough to remember, to think about whether or not that would affect the amount I tipped, a huge amount. I did have the biggest one I ever had was $5,000 at Bellagio, but I can't remember honestly what I tipped. I do know, as Chris said, we think of ourselves as pretty good tippers, and I definitely, will always tip a slot attendant. We're going to talk separately about tipping everybody at some point, but yeah, I tend to agree. I think I would be more inclined to tip more if I want a bigger one, just because. Just as on a craps table, if we're on a nice run, we're tipping the dealers more frequently and at higher levels than we are. Yeah. So I agree with that. But it's easier for me to say that it hasn't happened. So, but
I just don't like the pressure that I think that comes with it. I think people should be able to choose what they think is fair and go with it. And you're right. If we're on an amazing craps roll, even when we had our good run at the crapless table, we had a place bet on every single crapless number for the dealers that we kept up and put back up every time it hit.
Every time.
For a very long roll. And
that was fun.
And we don't do that at singles. This is always at nickel or higher. So these people are making a lot of money off of us while we're doing these things. So we are big into tipping. We're not saying be, stingy with your money. But I just don't like people to ever feel pressured into tipping if they don't need to in a certain situation, or more than they should.
And I will say that the slot attendant that helped me was really, really nice lady. And she thought she
broke the machine.
She broke the machine that I was, I'm a black card holder at Wynn, but had never had a hand pay on a slot machine that's at Wynn. And she thought that was pretty funny.
No, I do remember that.
Said I don't play them that much,
So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Josh, before we got too far?
Well, I just wanted to mention the contest that we talked about.
Do we still have to do that? They listen this far. We're good now.
Well, yeah, there's no contest. That's it. No, it's just, we're done. Because I'm very proud of our little opening segment. That was my contribution to all the the setup of this venture that was mostly done by Chris. But that's my little contribution. We wanted to offer a $50 Amazon gift card to anyone that, first of all, that stuck around this long in this show, but also
you all get one. Congratulations.
That's right. Everybody that stuck around here gets one. No. If you are the first to send us an email if you can identify the where that opening clip comes from. And I'll be amazed, and I'll start giving hints on future episodes if nobody can come up with anything. But if you can come up with that and be the first one to tell us, we're going to do a $50 Amazon gift card, and you can go ahead and send us an email now that I know that we have an email address. And our email address again is podcast@crapvegas.com.
And, this reminds me of when Mike or Dr. Mike and Mark did this for their trailer thing at the end of every one of their episodes. And they said nobody was going to get it at all, if I remember correctly. And it took one episode.
Yeah. We'll probably get a tweet tonight or as soon as this goes live. And
so here, I'll play it one more time for you. If you stuck around this long, to give you an extra little bonus on it. Here you go.
I found out something very unsettling about Harry. He gambles.
What do you mean he gambles?
He plays craps in the back room of a private club. I mean, you 11, come on, little Joe, Snake Eyes, hard way 8s. That's how it goes. He loses a lot of money.
You had no idea?
No, I didn't.
So there you go. That's what you're trying to figure out.
So close to home that
it does. I think I've had that conversation about me before. I just didn't know.
Right.
Oh,
anyway, we'll talk more about the trip on the next episode. The last couple days we had, and touch on some other topics to it. And thanks for listening along. I think both of us came away from the trip, just kind of to wrap it up. We did not finish, and people have asked on Twitter, "How do you guys always win?" And I want to make it clear that we do not always win. And anybody that does always win at craps is probably
lying to you.
Yes, probably not telling you the truth. Obviously, our better sessions are more fun, both to talk about on social media and and on the podcast and things like that. So we're always gonna talk more about those because they're more fun and they're what what we play for. And that session on whatever it was Sunday night, I mean, that's the reason we play craps. And I think anybody that that's been around those kind of a session like that where everything just goes well and you just you're making money hand over fist, and and it's just you get a. I mean, I had at one point. This may have been the day you were gone, and not to get ahead, but I mean, I had my 5 up to $800 at one point. Those kind.
No,
of
I was there.
So much.
No, I was there for that. Yeah.
Those are just
both
so
had our
much
6
fun.
and 8s at 6, and one of the 5 or 9 got up really high. No, I mean, every especially when we had that amazing roll in the crapless table, you're getting paid every single roll.
Right.
You don't have any wasted rolls. You're praying for those extreme numbers to come.
Yeah.
Hell, we were getting our 12s and 11s up to like $400.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, it was just absolutely terrific.
But long story short, we didn't come out ahead.
No, we did
and
not.
I think that's what I mean, we want to be honest with people when we say that. I mean, we are, we're out there to gamble, and yes, Wynn is giving us our taking care of us on our rooms and our transportation, and most of the time, most of our food and beverage and things. But that's because we're playing at the levels we're playing at, and and it doesn't always go well.
No, we have some large losses, and I'm trying to remember the last time I had a winning trip, and it's been a while. But yeah, it's real money. It's our money, and it is painful when you lose it at the end. But
I think both of us, right? Both of us could have, even though I left a day later. Both of us, if we had not played our final sessions, we would have been great. Left ahead or even at least.
Yes. Never play on the last day of a trip, I think, is the new rule that you should
if
always
you're ahead.
have.
If you're ahead or even.
If you're ahead. Well, no, you got to chase it if you're back.
Right.
But if you're ahead, don't play the final day.
That's the rule of the podcast. If you're ahead or even going into the last day or at any time on the last day, stop.
Yes, I 100% agree. That's our new rule, even though it completely contradicts with your new rule that you can never leave the craps table.
Right. But if you're down, chase.
Yes, exactly. Got it. That's the rules. Thank you again to everybody that bought a t-shirt. If you made a donation through our website or sending any words of encouragement or even just thanks. We do have a new merchandise item that's going to be coming out soon, which we can't officially announce yet because we haven't made final design decisions on it. But I think it's going to be really interesting for a lot of people and something you might want to pick up. Next trips, I'm going to try to be out there at the beginning of July. I think it's the second weekend of July. Josh, I don't think you're going to be out until at least late July or early August.
Yeah, definitely have a trip at the end of August, and I'll, chances are 60% I'll sneak in a quick one somewhere between now and then, but nothing's set at this point. So we're going to have to rely on just our good looks to get us through until then. And
yeah, if nothing else, I got that offer from Wynn that I really want to take advantage of at the end of what.
That's right. July. Chris got his first little offer with it includes Wynn promo chips.
Yeah, they don't like giving those out too much. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to collect them. So I'll probably be out there at the end of July for that, and I'll post more on the website for those that are interested. But thank you again, everyone, for listening. We actually had someone come up to us at the tables on Saturday or Sunday night and recognized us based off just our voice, since our pictures aren't really out there. And that was really interesting, to say the least. It's like, oh, hey, aren't you guys like the podcasters for CrapVegas? I was like,
that was really, if you're listening, we're still new at this whole thing. We should have gotten your name, but I didn't have
we are horrible giving attribution for anything.
Didn't put myself together enough to even, get that we should ask for this guy's name. But if you're listening, we thought we were very flattered that you recognized us. And just overall, it was neat to have someone listening, after only 2 episodes that found us at the tables and introduced themselves. Unfortunately, he didn't have a good,
no, he didn't have a very good, he wasn't having a ton of luck. And this is one of his first trips over to Wynn, it sounded like. So hopefully he gives him another chance soon.
He can really start to see how awesome. Yeah, he said he was 7 stars at Caesars and wanted to come over. And he may have come over just to find us. I don't know, but he probably,
he actually messaged me on Twitter earlier in the day asking where we were going to be, Josh. So I think he
came to find us.
He was seeking us out. I mean, that's just how popular we are. But
we recognize. Oh, sorry, Chris. I was just going to say we recognize we're still learning how to give attribution to those people that
we'll get
that compliment us and find us. And sometime or another, we'll probably play some voicemails that we get and things like that. I don't know if Chris knows how to do that yet.
Yeah, we're working on that. They're piling up. We have a spreadsheet that literally has probably 25 things that we're supposed to talk about that we haven't got around to, and maybe one day we'll be able to record a little bit more frequently to get caught up on some of this. But we're doing our best to get them out on time.
And very much appreciate everybody listening, and hope that our discussion of this trip was fun. And it was a great trip for us. It was a lot of fun. It was, and should I spoil the surprise, Chris? I don't know if you know what I'm going to say, but
I don't know.
I was able to got enough play in that I did make Win Black status at Win for next year already.
Yay! If I had a sound effect, I'd play it right now. Cheers!
If we knew how to do that, I'm excited.
Yeah, if I could do that, I would. So that's awesome. Chris, so good for you, Josh. I'm chasing it still.
You're almost there. Chris pointed out that over the last, a year and a half or so that we've known each other, we play it. Our gambling levels have gone up. So
it seems every trip it gets a little bit heavier. It's going to take one of those trips where we get completely wiped out, I think, to knock us back to reality. But we're hanging in there with somewhat reasonable losses for the amount of time that we're there. So we're hanging in there. So okay, Josh, we're way past where we should be. Let's get out of here, guys. We will catch you again as soon as we can. Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the CrapVegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting CrapVegas.com.
See you in Vegas.